All right, cool. All right, welcome to. I'm gonna name this, by the way, the real AI podcast. I don't know how it's gonna go, but this is the first episode, and it's featuring you, and I'm very excited to talk to you.
I'm really glad to be first speaker on your show.
Yeah, awesome. I think it's a really good timing because I did a lot of lightning videos, and so it's really cool to have you here, and I can ask you questions and sort of learn more about it, right? But also, I know that you are really into sort of open source machine learning, and so I'm looking forward to asking you questions about that and getting to know you better as well. And I think this is like for people. I'm thinking for people that are not that familiar with Lightning, like probably people have heard about it. I had heard about it before, but people don't really know what it is. Like, how could you sort of summarize it, or what your goal is with Lightning?
Yes. So I would say Lightning is an open source library which allows you not only to train model, but also you can deploy a machine learning system. You can build and deploy any kind of complex distributed Python application. So it all started with the PyTorch Lightning, and it was created by William Falcon, our CEO. So it started with PyTorch Lightning, and we created a lot of different open source libraries like Torch Metrics, which aims to build and provide different evaluation packages for like text and audio, image classification, object detection, and even tabular data set or tabular machine learning. So apart from Torch Metrics, we launched Lightning App Framework, which helps you in taking your trained model to deploy, or even building a system where you can train your model on cloud. Like if you are a machine learning engineer, it is a chance that like it is highly likely that you might not have a lot of knowledge of cloud computing. So with Lightning App Framework, it's very easy for you to just get started on cloud, train distributed models on multiple GPUs, and select any kind of GPU you want. And it is very developer friendly. So it's for the machine learning engineers, and you can like build anything.
I mean, it's been my experience so far. It's been really, really convenient. Like now I use it as default, especially sort of as using more multi-GPU training. It's just so convenient to use. And I think people that are not, or sort of, you're wasting a lot of time also with the way that it structures the code. But what do you think about people that are like, yeah, it's like a wrapper just on top of, because some people are like, yeah, it's just a PyTorch wrapper. But from the looks of it, you're doing a lot of things, right? You're sort of, I guess, in a sense, you're trying to just make the developer experience in machine learning like a lot more convenient. Is that like accurate, or what would you say the sort of the vision is for Lightning? And I don't know if
Yeah, so I think in PyTorch Lightning, the Lightning module organizes whole PyTorch code. And if you see, Lightning module is just like an n-dot module of Torch library. And Trainer removes a lot of boilerplate for you. So if you want to use DDP, you can just specify that DDP strategy. Or if you want to use deep speed, you can just specify deep speed as a strategy.
Yeah.
And it also supports other kind of strategies like FSDP. So it removes a lot of boilerplate. It's true that it is just like it is a high level library on top of PyTorch, and it's a wrapper. But I think most of the users, like 99% of the users, wants like to quickly train their model and do not need to worry out how they want to implement mixed precision like in raw PyTorch.
Yeah, for sure.
And yes, but yeah, it is true that a lot of people might also need to control everything in their model training. For example, if you are dealing with a very complex model training pipeline, for example, you are training reinforcement learning models, so you can Lightning recently launched something called Fabric, which basically scales your raw PyTorch code just with 4 lines of code changes, and it you can basically leverage all the cool Lightning features like its accelerators and distributed training strategy, mixed precision. Just that you are not using a framework anymore. You have your PyTorch code and you import Fabric in your PyTorch code, and just you set up your model, data loaders, and you are all set.
So like, I guess for people that are not that familiar with Lightning, like you have the videos I've made, so have been on, like, is it the core of Lightning, or what is the library? Because maybe we can try to explain or sort of summarize just what are the sub libraries of Lightning, or how would you call them, like the products, I guess, and like maybe just get an idea of what they are.
Yes. So if you see the package, the Lightning as a package has been refactored, like it's been more organized. So if you go to Lightning GitHub repo, you will see a source SRC, and inside that you will find Fabric, PyTorch Lightning, and Lightning apps. So basically, when you install Lightning, you get Fabric, Lightning app, which is for deploying machine learning applications. Fabric is for training scaling your raw PyTorch code, and PyTorch Lightning is just your old friend, like organizing PyTorch code. Yes. So if you just like do import Lightning as L dot trainer, you get the PyTorch Lightning trainer, L dot Lightning module, you get the PyTorch Lightning module.
You also wait. So this is like a tangent, but I saw that you changed how you import Lightning, right? Before you did import PyTorch Lightning as PL, but now it's import Lightning as L. Was it?
Yeah.
I saw some people say that it should have been import Lightning as lit. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I mean, different people have different way of importing things, and like we have been using this as a standard across all our examples, so that there is not like conflict between different code bases. So it's just a standard, or you can say practice. It is not mandatory that you have to import this way only.
So you're saying we can also do as lit?
Yes.
All right.
I mean, no one is stopping you.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. And I'm curious, sort of, as to you as well. Like, what is it that you personally are working on at Lightning, and sort of what are you excited about? And maybe talk a little bit about sort of your journey of how you got to work at Lightning, because I know you've been there for a while now.
Yes. So before joining Lightning, I was contributing to their open source code. So Lightning had a library called Lightning Flash, and it was it was a high level library even on top of PyTorch Lightning. So if you want to train an image classifier, you just need to import from Flash, import image classifier, and just import the trainer, and you can just specify the data path, the model you want to train, number of classes, all set. You do not need to write any training step. So it was to remove all the boilerplate, and if you have a sample data set, you just quickly want to see just quickly want to experiment few things, Lightning Flash files, develop for that kind of stuff. So I contributed to that library during initial developments. Then I hosted some of the events online and offline in my region in Bangalore, India. And I think they organized a hackathon. I participated in that, and I talked to their engineers even before I was hired by them. So it is really quite fun that you are working in a different country and you are talking to engineers from an open source company who are building world-class software. So it's really good to contribute to open source. You get to learn a lot of things. And after contributing, so I think I was contacted by one of the developer advocate for opening, and then this is how it started. So
okay. And what did you do sort of previous to that? I guess, were you sort of into open source a lot, or
yes.
before that?
So before that, my role was a machine learning engineer. In my part time, I used to just like contribute to open source. It was not a part of my job role.
Okay. And I guess we'll get to that later on as well. But I was curious also to, before sort of moving on from Lightning, sort of Lightning 2.0 was just released. And I guess there was a lot of exciting things these past weeks, right, in AI.
Yes.
But PyTorch 2.0 and Lightning 2.0 kind of at the same time.
Yeah.
What do you see as the big sort of what was the changes, or what motivated the move to 2.0?
For Lightning.
Yeah.
Yes. So in Lightning for 2.0, so as I mentioned, like we changed a lot of stuff, and the most important thing about 2.0 is if you read our code now, the PyTorch Lightning trainer code, it is much more leaner and clean. So it's been completely cleaned up so that any researcher and machine learning practitioner can just go open the like source code and read the file for better like debuggability. And even if you open the trainer code, you will find a message from William himself that keep the code as linear as possible, so that it's we are like focusing more on readability than engineering constructs. So yeah, so that is the main focus. Apart from that, we have like revamp our documentation for like anyone who is starting to learn PyTorch Lightning or any of the related library like Torch Metrics or Fabric. So it's much more organized now, and it was even better organized earlier as well. But it's much better than earlier as well. And we have launched a new community Discord group, so there people can ask their question and chat in real time with the Lightning engineers. And
Okay.
yeah, these are a few things like highlights of the 2.0 launch.
All right. Okay. Well, that's exciting. And how do you? Because personally, actually, how I learned about it was from your documentation, and I thought that was really good and sort of made it easy to learn. And then I tried to sort of explain it in my own way, as I usually do when I've learned something on YouTube. And hopefully that's also useful for people to sort of get more familiar with Lightning. But how would you say, because I am sort of scared to sort of jump into the source code because there's so many things to look at. For the trainer and so on, it's actually like going into that, it's actually really well documented, right? Just sort of go to definition of trainer and see like which functions are there and so on. That's actually been really, really good, I would say. But how would you, do you have any sort of tips for sort of getting into more of the source code and sort of how to navigate that? Because it's a large code base.
Yeah. Yes. So it's like even after like making it leaner and removing a lot of stuff, you can say it's quite a large code base. But I'll tell my approach. So whenever I face any problem, I usually use like a VS Code or PyCharm. So I like right click and go to the, like if I have trainer, I go to the trainer class definition and trainer.fit. So I see what are the, like on a high level, what are the functions being called. And most of the time the like name of the methods are quite, you can judge what this particular function do. So I just assume that this function do this thing and just go on reading the code. And if I want to go deeper, I click on that particular function method and go to the definition of that function, what this is doing right now. And if I'm still confused, I might go to the documentation, read about it. And if the documentation is not there, I go to the questions group in like Slack, but it's not Discord. So you can like go to Discord and ask the question, like, what is this particular thing doing? There is no documentation. So
Okay.
yeah, that's my
So
approach.
you go to Slack, like when you don't find something, you go, because I guess you can also go to sort of GitHub and raise an issue and so on. But
Yes.
I guess it's more convenient maybe to go to the Slack or something.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, one thing is also I would mention that if there is something, GitHub at the search bar, you can search it. It searches throughout the code base. So that's sometimes helpful. And yes, you can search in the GitHub issues if you find anything. But otherwise, I would go to Slack. Like most of the time, they are very much responsive. They respond pretty quickly. So I get my answers.
And from that step to, I guess, contributing, sort of, how do you go from that step to making your own sort of pull requests and so on?
Yes. So for pull request, like there are two ways. First is if you get a bug, you raise the issue, and if you think you can solve it, just fork the repo and raise a PR for that. Otherwise, you can go to the source code. You can see the issues. If you think there is something that you can solve, you can ask any of the maintainers to assign that issue to you, and then raise a PR for that. So yes, these are like main two ways for contributing to any open source library, not only Lightning.
Yeah, because I know like you are. There's a lot of people who have not contributed to open source, and that can be a really big step to sort of, how do I contribute to this massive code that in many people's eyes are sort of, it's really good and it's really polished and everything. So I'm just curious as to if you were sort of, if someone was wanting to contribute, how would you think is this sort of the best way to approach that?
Oh, so if someone wants to contribute to an open source library, and so for Lightning, you can the person can go to the GitHub issues, and usually we have a label called good first issues. They can filter all the good first issues from there, and it's most of the time it's very easy for like beginners who are new to PyTorch Lightning, and they can, and if they need any help, they can just mention it either in the issue or go to the chat in Discord and ask the question. Like I think we have a separate channel for that, like new contributors or something, so they can just ask their questions there as well.
Okay, because I know that's good to know, because like there are so many people that are sort of getting started and learning about machine learning, right? And maybe they do some beginner Kaggles and so on. But really, I think a really good alternative approach is also to actually get familiar with a code base, get sort of contribute, and sort of get into the community of the machine learning community, right? And that could be really good for people that want to learn, especially if it's, as you say, like you have good first what did you say?
First issues.
Yeah, exactly. So that's interesting. All right, so I have a lot of things that I want to ask you. Maybe this is, so first of all, Lightning is PyTorch, right? It's a wrapper for PyTorch. What do you see sort of, you have, obviously you have TensorFlow, you have PyTorch, and I guess you have Jax as well. I don't know if there's any, like those are the big three, I guess.
Yes.
How do you guys see sort of the future of, do you think it's going to be PyTorch? Do you think it's going to move to something else? I know there's a lot of people also talking about Julia or Rust. Maybe.
I think the PyTorch community has been like building a lot of cool stuff. So if you see in the PyTorch 2.0 launch, they introduced Compile, and I think they are also building few things. I'm not exactly sure, but which aims to build features like a VMAP and other stuff, which is very similar to Jax. So I think PyTorch right now has a lot of scope with like in future, and I ran some I ran some benchmarks with the 2.0 compile feature, and with ResNet 150, I observed like 70% speed up, like from normal PyTorch. So it's just amazing. You just do like PyTorch.compile, pass your model, and it's like it is faster, 70% faster. So I think it's amazing. And the other stuff they have been doing, I believe I believe that PyTorch has a really good future.
Yeah. And I guess, okay, so that's looking for sort of the Python libraries, right? But what do you think about people talking about sort of moving away from Python completely? Maybe moving to Julia has been proposed for a long time because of the sort of, right, we talked about a little bit like go to definition. At a certain point in Python code, it will be a C++ call, and you won't know what's going on there. But in another language, you might be able to go the entire stack. What do you see sort of,
Yes.
or what do you think about that?
Yeah. So it's true that like whatever you use internally, it's gonna convert into C++ or C. So what I think here is Python has a really large community, like from Jupyter Notebook to PyTorch Lightning and all the other like big libraries, even in Web and other areas. So I think it Julia and other libraries are very much promising, and it might be possible that someday they are going to, like, everyone is going to use Julia or some other language. But I think right now the Python community is just growing, and even if you see in the PyTorch 2.0 launch, they are moving a lot of their operations like from C++ to Python. They have introduced PrimTorch and other stuff. So they have right now a completely PyTorch code, like Python code for operations, and it would be easier for developers to implement or even understand the code. So yeah, I think maybe community, the vast amount of community might not move to other languages, and Python will reign forever.
Yeah. I mean, I love Python, so the love for Python and PyTorch especially is very strong. And I mean, I guess like it makes sense at some point, but I know to me personally also, I think a lot about sort of if one should spend time learning new libraries and so on. And I think, that's one reason why I've always sort of, I guess, like I've always wanted to make sure that I stay efficient, like I guess you can become scattered, maybe learning like 5 different languages.
Yes.
And I've always sort of stuck to Python. And then I guess if the community moves, I'll sort of move along with them, but I'll definitely be like hesitant to move. Like I won't be jumping away from Python, as that's sort of the home, I would say. All right, so cool to get your thoughts on that. What do you think about FastAI as well? Because I think, right, the Flash is kind of, FastAI also has this sort of notion of having really quick experimentation and making it super easy to check if something works with just a few lines of code. And so Flash is kind of similar in that direction. What do you think about FastAI?
Yes, so Flash and FastAPI are quite similar in that direction. So both of the libraries aim to solve the similar kind of problem. You have a data set, you can just provide the path and quickly train the model. It's really easy to use and easy to get started. So I think FastAI also has a large community, and their community has been doing a lot of cool work. I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think Dali Mini or other stuff were created by their alumni. So it's really cool. I haven't observed a lot of new developments in FastAI. I might be wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I agree. Their library is great.
I know there's especially because of sort of Jeremy pushing towards or having contributed a lot to courses and sort of accelerating learning for a lot of beginners. I know there's a lot of people, like for a lot of my videos, they're like a lot of them learned from Jeremy and the FastAI course. I think there's 2 courses, right? Or I don't know, but
Yeah,
I haven't
think there
personally.
was 2 courses, practical deep learning for coders, and 1 more course was there. I think there is 1 more course coming from Jeremy. I saw it on Twitter. It's on stable diffusion.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in a way really, like, the community for machine learning is really, really strong. And I really like the fact that we are at least, like, the focus has been openness, or sort of open sourcing things and making things available. And that comes to sort of the libraries themselves. But I mean, I think people maybe, if we imagine, like, if Python wasn't open source, how would it look like then? Or if, these libraries were not open source, that would be a different world, right? And so I'm curious, because maybe talk a little bit about sort of GPT-4 that was released just not that long ago, right? And sort of, I read the technical report for that, and I know the machine learning community, as we've talked about, sort of have pushed really strongly towards open source. And this is sort of a move away from that. I mean, their name is OpenAI, and they have, I even read, they said that they were wrong. Like, the original thought of remaining open source, or not open source, sorry. They were never open source, I guess, but open, and at least released paper, like the paper for how they did it, the architecture and so on. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So I love open source, so I will always advocate for open source and like open machine learning contributions. It's quite controversial. Like, they mentioned that it's for ethical reasons, like to reduce the misuse of GPT and all. They haven't open sourced the model architecture details and training details, everything. It might be true, but you see, like, they didn't release the previous models, but it was like very quickly taken up by community, and the community built and trained models, like OpenClip is there. So I think in future it is very much possible that the community can take over and create a chat GPT, just community source and open sourced. So yeah.
So you see it kind of being difficult to stop the community, you see, like, you would say, maybe.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the whole machine learning community is so much motivated. You can see, like, the crazy developments all over, like, last few weeks.
Yeah. I know also I think there are a lot of people working on sort of an open source equivalent, right? I haven't looked into it a lot, but I know Yannick is doing or has been active on Open Assistant, and so I agree with you that it's probably gonna be, like, in general, it seems like we've been able to replicate a lot of things. But let's imagine, so if things were like, would not be as open source, or we're talking sort of, okay, I don't want to get into this too much, but I'm sort of curious to get your thoughts on, if in case it was the case that that it would be more closed, right, because of AI safety, right? I guess that's the argument. What would you how would you how do you think that would be, like, is that a good approach, or how do you see that working out?
Yeah, I think, yes, there should be, like, some guidelines, or like some gatekeeping for, like, preventing misuse. But, like, just not personally, I don't think just, like, not open sourcing the learning for whole machine learning community is I don't think that is a lot helpful, because they have, like, trained on very large data set, and it's not possible that anyone can just go and like take a model and train on such a large data set and start misusing GPT-4.
Yeah, like, whoops, I replicated GPT-4 in a week.
Yes.
I mean, it's going to
Yeah.
cost a lot of money too, right? It's that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they need Microsoft for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I know, I mean, this is definitely like a controversial topic, but how would you say, because I know Elon as well has talked about sort of like OpenAI was an open, like, nonprofit, right?
Yes.
But now they've sort of moved towards being, I mean, they're a company now, right? That are making a lot of money. I don't know. How does it work, by the way, for like Lightning? How does that work? Is it how sort of, is it sponsored or how does it work?
You mean like how does it work for?
Yeah, yeah, like how does one work on open source and being able to do it long term, sort of having a lot of engineers working on it?
Yes. So Lightning has a cloud platform where you can you can use for building and deploying machine learning applications, and we give few free credits, but you need to like buy the credits if you want to like use more compute, and so that's how we are like funding our open source
Okay,
development.
and then that's for, is it for training or deploy? I guess both, maybe, or like the training the models. Is it like renting a
Yeah,
cloud?
so yes, so you can even train a model on the cloud platform.
Okay, and deploy as well.
Yes, exactly. So
Okay, I have not
basically, you
taken.
can run any Python application on the cloud. So
Okay,
that's the main goal.
and that's the Lightning app.
Yes, the Lightning
All
app
right.
framework.
Okay, cool. I have not taken a look at that. I will probably do that in the future. Sort of one of my goals right now is to become more like, I feel like I have done a lot of personal projects like on my own computer, but in the end the limitation has always been to deploy it and sort of have other people use it. And I know in general it seems like there's a big movement towards sort of MLOps and
Yeah.
actually getting these things to deploy. And so this is one of the exciting things that I would like to get into more in the future. Sort of how do we actually deploy these things? How do we make it easy for people, or like what's the most convenient way of deploying? Because there's so many different platforms now, and it's quite yeah, it's definitely a complex environment to navigate for a beginner, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think there are a huge lot of different libraries and framework in both open source and like paid products for like building and deploying machine learning models. So, like the benefit of Lightning is just that you have PyTorch Lightning, and uh, it is very easy to like we have some built-in recipes or like examples where you can easily train a model in a distributed fashion on our cloud platform. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. And do you work on, like, what do you said you worked on Flash, right? Are you
Yes,
working
Lightning.
mostly on that, the deployment features, or what is it that sort of maybe I can ask you, like, how does it like, what are you currently working on? Like, how does a day look like for you?
Yeah. So my day look like so as a developer advocate, there are three things: code, like community, and content. So community is like helping the community who are asking questions on Discord or like uh, anyone on Twitter or even in person to solve their problems. It's like uh, in any of the libraries of like Lightning open source ecosystem. Or if apart from that, the content involves writing tutorials. So like for the like recently I wrote a blog on Fabric so that people can learn how you can like train a like PyTorch model using Fabric. These kind of tutorials and contents and live streams. I do attend events so that I can interact with the community in person and get to know what they want and pass that feedback to the engineers so that we can build the product what our community wants.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And so maybe if I would also, you said this like Slack as well. Like if I would join Slack and I would ask a question, you would be one of the sort of leading ones maybe as well.
Yes. So I would be one of the people who will reply and try to solve your problem. If I cannot, I might tag someone who can help you.
Damn, I didn't know that existed. That's so cool. I'm going to join the Slack after this.
Yeah. So if you are joining, I would recommend you join to Discord. So you can go to lightning.ai lightning.ai. You will find a link to join our community there.
All right. All right. Let's see. So we've talked about, what we talked about so far? We talked about Lightning, right? What the goal is of Lightning and what it is. And so and we've also talked a bit about sort of open source machine learning. So I guess I have like more questions to you as well of sort of being a developer. But so first of all, like when you're coding, there's a CoPilot was released a while ago, but now sort of CoPilot X as well. And ChatGPT has changed a lot for people sort of coding. I'm curious to know what you use sort of when you're coding. What do you find as the most sort of efficient workflow, or what are you using so far?
So I think I got early access to the I forgot what is the name, Code GPT or what's that?
ChatGPT or
No,
CoPilot?
so, the CoPilot. So I tried CoPilot, but I think for some reason I stopped using that. Right now, whenever I code, I'm not using any AI assistant right now. But yeah, with all these new developments, I will try it again sometime later.
Okay. Yeah, I guess to me it seems like I use CoPilot all the time now. I feel like there's maybe I don't know if I'm using it the best way, but it's definitely making, for me at least, it's making it a lot more faster to code stuff and get things to work. I am kind of a little bit worried of losing because it's doing so much for me, right? But on the other hand, I used to Google a lot, like Stack Overflow, copy paste. It's common. Do you use ChatGPT a lot, or have you experimented a lot with that? Or GPT-4?
I haven't used GPT-4, but I did experiment with ChatGPT. I am not using it for coding or something. I just did it for fun or try different stuff.
Okay. Yeah. It's a bit like, my experience is it's a bit bad at coding. It can be it can give you something and then you're like, well, that doesn't exist. And it's just like, oh, I'm sorry. It existed before in another version, but not in the latest one. And it's just like making stuff up like language models do, I guess.
Yeah.
But I have used it for sort of, sometimes, you want to think out loud a little bit, and I have used it to sort of ask it, like, do you think this makes sense? This is my current approach. Do you have any feedback? And sometimes it's been valuable to sort of, it's like having a buddy you can talk to, and when you explain things, you usually get other ideas.
Yeah. So Notion also integrated some language model, and it has the Ask AI feature now. So I have been using that a lot. So whenever I see a very long Notion document, I just summarize with the AI and just read what is the summary of this particular thing. And sometimes I also I just write few last sentences in hurry and just select everything, and using Notion AI assistant or whatever it is called, I make it better. So you can also change tone in friendly, casual, formal kind of stuff. So I have been using that, and it's quite good. It's really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty scary to, I guess, I mean, it's exciting, but also a bit scary sort of how fast things are moving right now. Sort of
Yeah.
GPT-4 is, I mean, you can argue that it's definitely on like human level intelligence in some areas, right? It sort of passes the bar in like top 10% of scorers. It,
Yes.
in the SATs, it performs in like the 90th percentile. These are, and now with a context of about 50 pages that it can sort of, I don't know how many tokens that are, but it's a lot of.
Yeah, I think they even evaluated on lead code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't that it did the easy ones, and then I think half of the medium ones, and then
Yes.
like I would
Struggle
just
on the hard ones.
Yeah, struggle on the. I mean, that's it's probably better than me. So
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
yeah, better than me for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty good at coding too. But sort of workflow wise, do you use what IDE do you use, and so like what's your setup?
So if I want to like do some small project, I use VS Code because it's faster. If I am like doing a large project, so in that case, I use PyCharm. So it's easier to refactor and like do things in PyCharm that way.
And do you are you on like OS? Are you using Windows or SSH or?
I'm using Mac OS right now, so it's Unix, and sometimes I do log into a virtual Ubuntu desktop for like which has GPUs for training models.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I use the same setup. I'm on my Mac and then SSH into a sort of a server for training.
Yes.
And I know also a lot of people are sort of now with M1 Macs and so on, having GPU support. Sort of MPS.
MPS, yeah. So yeah, MPS is also quite good. So you can, and in PyTorch Lightning, you can just specify like accelerator is equal to MPS, and it will just train your model on the MPS GPU. It's quite faster than CPU for sure.
I think also if I haven't trained actually. I don't have that much RAM, so I don't have that. But I think the RAM is corresponding to the VRAM, right, on the Macs, or do you know?
I'm not sure of this. I haven't like trained any large models, just experimented with very small like toy models like CFA10 or something like that.
Yeah, same here. I haven't really done any real training, but there was some people were asking me sort of if they were buying a laptop for sort of prototyping machine learning things. It seems like Mac is sort of really solid in that way. And in general, I don't know, what do you think about sort of like Windows versus Ubuntu versus Mac?
Yeah. So if I have to personally buy a desktop or a server, I would prefer Ubuntu with a GPU because MPS is great, but I think still few operations are not supported by PyTorch yet. They are developing, but I think CUDA is. I mean, I would prefer NVIDIA GPU to train my models.
Yeah,
and I can attach like multiple GPUs, like customize the desktop. But if I buy a Apple laptop, I cannot really customize it after that.
Yeah, that's true. And sort of upgrading a workstation is a lot easier, right? When you need sort of a new GPU and so on.
Yes.
All right. So let's see. Is there anything else, by the way, you want to talk about Lightning? We talked a little briefly about it in the beginning, but I guess maybe there are things that we missed on that. I'm curious, sort of, what do you think about sort of the future of Lightning? What are you like excited about?
Yeah, I'm excited about a lot of things. Like Lightning is heading in a direction where like PyTorch, like it started with PyTorch Lightning, and like right now, I think PyTorch Lightning is in a really good state, and we are now focusing on helping people in creating and building application very quickly and deploying it, making it to production really fast. And that's why we created the whole cloud platform. So that, and with the platform, we also created a framework that just like you can build any kind of complex pipeline with the framework, and that is completely in like comes in hand with the platform. So you can deploy like on the cloud. You can even run the Lightning app application on your local desktop or laptop, and you just have to change the command like lightning run app and just add the flag double hyphen cloud, and it will just take your model, upload your code on the cloud, and run everything in the cloud. So you didn't have to learn AWS or GCP or anything. So we built a few products like News and Eco. So it's built completely using the Lightning App framework and deployed on the Lightning platform. So it is kind of a demo to inspire everyone what you can do with all this technology built by Lightning. And it's pretty amazing that how quickly you can just go from idea and prototype to production.
Yeah, I remember I did a long time ago. I was trying to learn sort of AVS and deploying on that, sort of using their serverless Lambda functions and so on. And I mean, that is the opposite of user friendly, I would say. It's actually pretty insane how large that to get to know and sort of deploy things on that. And, so I think that work that you're doing there is actually really, really beneficial, I think. And so, I mean, so to understand sort of, you're saying that the future direction sort of you're wanting to go for, or you're hoping at least, is to make it easier to deploy, right? That's sort of the...
Make it easier to build applications and deploy.
Okay. Yeah.
So for deployment, we have the cloud platform, and for building, we have the Lightning App framework.
Right.
So we are targeting, like we are just trying to help developers as much as possible to take their idea to production.
Yeah. Let's see. All right. So is there anything, by the way, that you think we're missing sort of with the Lightning discussion so far? Is there anything else that could be good to talk about?
No, I think just one thing, if like anyone wants to learn how to like in general deep learning or how to use PyTorch Lightning or Lightning, we have a course called Deep Learning Fundamentals. It's taught by Sebastian Rashka, and it's completely free and available. You can go to lightning.ai. You can find in the like navigation bar. So
yeah, I've seen he has been doing a lot of content on that. Is that sort of integrated with Lightning, I assume?
Yes.
I mean, it's using Lightning code to do it.
Yeah. So I think he starts with PyTorch and then also teaches PyTorch Lightning. Even all the code are in Lightning 2.0. So
I have I have checked. He has uploaded videos on his YouTube channel as well, like courses he's done in the past, and those have been really, really useful and high. Like his explanations are really good. So I would imagine that this course is pretty darn good.
Yeah, and even like he is really active on Discord and Slack. So if like any student has any questions or problem, they just post it on the chat, and he is very active and just reply very quickly. So it's really amazing how in open source you can learn anything for free and ask your question directly to the teacher that is just like sitting in your room.
It's actually, I don't think there's been an easier time to learn things than now, like for sure. The amount of resources, I think the problem is kind of that you have too many resources, so it's kind of difficult to navigate and where to find them, right? But they definitely exist. And for me personally, I know, there's sort of I see courses coming out, sort of people writing a post on LinkedIn, like this course came out, this course came out, this, like, to me it's like so overwhelming, right? There's just not enough time. Like I would like to have time to just go through all of them, because there's so many things to learn.
Yes. Yeah. And like if right now it's like just crazy, like all these models coming in, new technologies in machine learning, you want to learn all these things. So it's really overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah, that's sort of why to me, it's taking a while to learn Lightning too, because I've sort of been hesitant to learn, like moving away from bare bones PyTorch. Like now it makes complete sense, but then it didn't. But because there's so many options.
Yes.
So we definitely need like help navigating things. And
So I would like to ask you, like what got you most interested in Lightning for like moving from raw PyTorch?
so for me, like, well, I've always sort of used, for my workstation, I actually only had like a single GPU, one 3090, and then was sort of, if I did something bigger than that, and I haven't really done that much, but then I would have rented sort of multiple GPUs on a cloud server. But now sort of I wanted to have more local compute to experiment with things. So I bought extra GPUs, and then sort of I realized, all right, now I want to do multi-GPU training, and that seems a bit difficult. Like maybe I should look for tools for that. And then, I came across Lightning, and just, I mean, there's no better, there's, I don't know, it seems like the best one to me. And so also I like the fact, like now getting more familiar with it, I like the fact that it helps me sort of organize things. It looks really clean. And I mean, for people reading it, sort of and sharing the code, I think it looks a lot cleaner, right? You can see sort of, all right, you have a training step, you have this, and it's sort of everything is sort of nicely structured. So I really like that fact as well. Yeah, so I think that those have been sort of the main things for me. And I'm also, that's sort of what I've been experimenting with Lightning. I haven't touched so much of the other libraries with like the Lightning app and so on.
Yeah, I think in some point of time, on GitHub or somewhere, the headline or something about like a text about Lightning was Lightning is just an organized PyTorch code, and it scales and removes your boilerplate code.
Yeah, that's a good summary.
Yeah.
Let's see. So before we conclude this interview, I'm sort of curious to get your thoughts on. I mean, there's a lot of people that watch my videos that are sort of looking to learn about sort of how machine learning and so on. And I did a live stream the other day where we looked at Andrew Ng had created an ebook where it was like how to build a career in AI or something. And like I just walked through it and just sort of gave my thoughts on it. And I'm curious to get your thoughts, sort of, if you were to give advice for someone that's sort of just starting out, what do you think they should focus on to sort of learn about these technologies?
Yeah. So I think for people who are starting out right now, there are like two ways to learn machine learning and deep learning. Like first way is like just try out different applications and try to like train models directly and then learn how everything is being done. The other way around is like start from scratch, like learn what is neural networks, what are convolutional neural network and transformers, everything, then start coding. And I think both ways are fine. Once you learn how to train your neural network, how to train your model, I would suggest build as much applications, not only like model training, but I'd suggest like in machine learning is a vast field. You could be like someone who who trains models, like achieve SOTA results, all kind of things. Other other role could be machine learning engineer who builds an application which is powered by machine learning. For example, an image generator application, something like that, which leverages stable diffusion. So there are different kinds of role, and uh, first thing I would advise is to find out what you are most interested in. Do you want to be someone who trains really good machine learning model? Then the Kaggle is the really right platform for them. Just solve, like, train as much more models, like solve as much as problems you can. Um, and for building applications, I think right now you can just go on Twitter and see people building a lot of cool stuff. You can take inspiration from there, build something on your own, put it on GitHub, and just share it in the interview that you have built this particular thing. It's really helpful that your interviewer can just view what you have been building. If possible, just deploy it and show it live rather than just putting it a code in your GitHub account. So that these things are pretty much helpful.
Just to touch on your first point, sort of you were talking, if I understood it correctly, sort of a learning from a top down approach or sort of a bottom up approach.
Yes.
Because I know there's people do both ways, right? I would say that if you're looking at FastAI and so on, they're teaching a top down approach, sort of learning as you go about things, and maybe you're okay with not knowing the details. But then you have other people. I would say maybe if you have, like for me, I learned a lot from Andre Karpathy, like his course CS231.
Yeah.
Right, I think. And like his way of teaching, or I mean, also like Andrew Ng's way of teaching is a lot learning the fundamentals, like how does linear algebra work? How does backpropagation work? How does this work? How do, sort of building a bottom up approach. How would you say, sort of, if one was just starting out now, would you, if you were to start over, would you go and learn a lot of like linear algebra, calculus, a statistics course, maybe take a programming course, and then sort of linear regression, logistic regression, sort of build your way up? Or would you start directly with sort of stable diffusion and then create something?
Yeah. So actually, when I started, I first tried the FastAI course, which is top down, and I also tried Andrew Ng's course on Coursera. For me personally, I found like the Andrew Ng's course, like bottom up, first learn how neural network works and then code it, rather than like first starting it out. But yeah, I mean, it the top down approach is helpful for you to like get inspiration and like get excited, like what you can do when you learn this particular thing. So both ways are good, but I think if you are training a model, you should know what are the things going on, like in the backend, even if not like complete depth, but still you should have some knowledge what this, like if you are using an argument, you should know what this argument is going to do.
I agree with you. And I found, for me, the same has been true, that I found the most pleasure when I understood it and was able to like understand all the details of it. And that help has also been useful for debugging, because there's sort of, it's not just an entire complete black box, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, also, I guess maybe we're now talking sort of, if you need to like choosing either or. Maybe there's also a hybrid approach where you could learn sort of the fundamentals while still getting that excitement from just, maybe you can like play around with Flash and build like, all right, I want to do like an image classifier using the state of the art, and it's like 4 lines of code, and that will get you excited. And at the meanwhile, you're sort of learning about how does linear algebra and backpropagation work and so on.
Yeah, exactly. So even after like learning deep learning and everything, Stable Diffusion was launched, and then Stable Diffusion is based on diffuser process, which I was not like I built like I was working on the Muse app, which is basically a text to image generator app powered by Stable Diffusion. While building the app, I was not like, I did not know how diffusion process works and everything, but I was still able to use the API and deploy and build the model. So it was top down approach. And after building everything, I went and then I learned how diffusion process works.
Yeah. I to me, that's been the same experience. Like when I do things now, there's just not the time to, like, if we were talking about like doing some type of like building something for a project, like you want to get the thing done, right? You don't want, like, you don't have the time to learn all the details of like exactly and read all the papers and so on. That's sort of really useful to do like sometimes, but when you want to get things done, I think you have to kind of accept that maybe you don't know everything about it, and that's okay, right? You don't have to. So maybe that's true. Like I'm also using a top-down approach in many things that I'm doing now, but I have also learned I have taken like an undergraduate in mathematics. So I know like the basics and statistics and so on, and then like understood many things and build them up. And doing that from scratch has been really beneficial to me, at least.
Yeah, I think once you have a like good fundamental understanding, then it's easier for you when a new thing is introduced to you. Like it's easier for you to understand on a high level, and once like you are able to use on the high level, you can go sometime later and read how it works like completely.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I'm curious, so if you would start over, right? You're learning. I guess you have like a degree, right? Or what is your background?
It's a bachelor's in technology in computer science. So
okay,
yeah.
How would you say that has that been? What do you think about sort of having a degree? Is that really been helpful, or would you say that people can sort of learn on their own? How do you think about that?
So even though it was a computer science degree, like I learned the most of the machine learning things like not in my college, online using Coursera and YouTube, all these things. So having a degree is not really important, but for me, like the experience I think the experience in the college was good. Like I learned a few good things as well, like data structures, algorithms. Like sometimes we might think that this is like you can read it yourself, but when you have like when you know these things, it is easier for you in later like stages of life when you are using some algorithm or you are doing something. For example, I had the operating system course. I didn't use operating system things a lot in any of my job, but still it's like good to know that these things, how these things are working internally and all. Maybe one day I might need like some something in the scheduler algorithm of operating system or anything.
Yeah, I agree with that it feels like for me I've learned this most on my own, but also I can relate to what you're saying, that to me there's been a lot of like boring courses that just you are forced to go through, right, because of having the structure of the sort of the degree, and that has been helpful. On the other hand, my mind sort of wonders like, how often do I do like triple integrals in spherical coordinates or something like from my like math degree? Or like I don't do that, and I don't remember how to do it, but I could probably relearn it, right? But so how do you think about sort of, do you think there's such a thing as sort of wasted knowledge, or I guess like would you say that there are many things that you learned that you like they aren't useful, or do they help you in some way? As you said, like the operating system course.
Yeah, I mean, for me also, like there were a few courses I haven't used like any time, but and I'm sure like I'm not going to use it in future as well. But not wasted knowledge, but like I had a story that Steve Jobs took a course of calligraphy, and it was useful for him when he was designing MacBook or something, Mac OS, I guess. So he used his knowledge to like create like beautiful fonts that we see right now on our laptops. So I mean, you never know where you are going to use your knowledge in future.
That's true. Yeah, you can't sort of plan every step of the journey.
Yeah.
It's an adventure in many ways. You don't know what's gonna be
Yeah.
useful and what's not gonna. Maybe that's sort of like for advice too. Would you say that sort of do you think it's a good idea to just follow sort of what you're interested in, like curiosity, or how do you how have you when you are sort of wanting to learn something, how have you approached, like, should I learn about this or should I go into like another thing?
Yeah, I mean, if you are interested in something, like for example, in machine learning only, there are like a lot of different areas. If you are interested in like self-supervised learning, like there are a lot of resources already available. Just follow your interest, learn about it, build something using your knowledge, like apply it somewhere, and it's really like you can take it forward. You can like get a job in that particular area, follow your interest. Like right now I am following my interest as a developer advocate, helping community, doing code for them. And yeah, it's quite beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I really, for me as well, like why I do YouTube videos is for me personally is I know honestly like started out as more of a selfish thing. Like I learned by explaining things, but then that people find it sort of useful for their learning, and I think that's really what's the word, like rewarding,
Yeah.
to be able to help other people, like other making other people happy in some way makes you really, like, it makes you happy. It's just like a human thing.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about a lot of things. Excited for sort of grateful to have you on the podcast. I don't know, like I call it the Real AI Podcast. I don't think I'm not sure if I'm gonna make many of these, maybe, but it's gonna be called the Real AI Podcast #1, and you are the first guest. We'll see how it goes in the future.
Thank you so much for inviting me to this, Aravin. I've been following your videos. It's really amazing. And even like, I think few years back also, I used to watch few of your videos. I think it was about object detection or something. So it's really amazing to be on your podcast.
Awesome. Well, grateful to have you here, and we'll hopefully in the future we'll do another one.
Yeah,
All right.
for sure.
All right. I'll end this session here. Oh wait, I'll stop the recording.